Welcome back. 9 minutes now until load shedding starts, unfortunately, phase 2 until at least tomorrow morning. You know, it's one of the biggest issues we face at the moment, apart from the coronavirus and the pandemic, is in fact Eskom. But there have been big movements at Eskom. There was confirmation on Friday. The head of procurement, Solly Tshitangano, has been fired after a disciplinary hearing. He was found guilty of giving a contract with 8 billion rand to an oil supplier when he knew there was evidence of wrongdoing involving the company and Eskom workers. At the same time, last week, it was announced Eskom had been able to pay back over 80 billion rand of the debt that it owes. That's almost 1/5 of the debt that it in fact owes, which at one point was over 480 billion rand. Let's speak to Professor Ivor Sarakinsky at the Wits School of Governance. Professor, good afternoon to you. I mean, if we try, and I know we can't really put load shedding aside, but if we try and put it aside for a moment, this is a big moment for Eskom to fire a head of procurement. It's a big position for a company. If your head of procurement is corrupt, you can't be clean.
Indeed. Afternoon, Stephen and viewers. It's a major move in terms of cleaning out supply chain management. Disappointing in many ways because Mr. Tshitangano did pretty good work in National Treasury when he was the Chief Procurement Officer. So he came into Eskom and something happened. And clearly supply chain management is lucrative in terms of the sums spent in procuring goods and services. And something happened there. A long way to go still, because we know that supply chain at Eskom needs to be cleaned up a lot more. But also very good news in terms of starting to pay off the debt in terms of cost savings and also increases in rates. We mustn't ignore that as a possible factor in terms of paying off the debt. You charge more for your service, you've got more income to pay off debt. So it's probably a combination of both.
Still, to pay back over 80 billion rands worth of debt in this financial environment, it's a huge amount.
Indeed, and it's a clear sign that the cost-saving measures are taking effect. It's starting to bite, and you see that in terms of the pushback, the political pushback that's come the way of the management, the senior management of Eskom. Clearly, there are a lot of very unhappy people in terms of the cleanup biting into their revenue streams.
I mean, at one point, and I mean, as always in our country, of course, because of our racialized inequality, there are issues of race. There was a huge controversy when Andre de Ruyter was appointed the CEO because he is white. Tshitangano at one point claimed that he was trying to purge black suppliers. Parliament seemed to be on the verge of holding an inquiry, said that it would, and then pulled back. Does it suggest that politicians maybe are supporting this cleanup, or maybe they're supporting de Ruyter for the moment?
It's probably a balance of power, excuse the pun, in terms of supporters of the management team headed by de Ruyter and opponents who wish for the status quo ante to come about. So people are choosing their battles, I think. I don't think it's over by any means, and I don't think that anyone has changed their minds. Those who wanted to clean up are determined, and those who want to take advantage of supply chain management for private purposes haven't changed their minds either. They're just seeing that the environment is changing in terms of opportunity, in terms of the enforcement of process. So we wait to see how the battle is going to move into different areas in terms of micro-level supply chain management issues instead of the macro head office supply chain. So the power station managers need to be on their toes now. Supply chain management there, in terms of the decentralized structure of Eskom, is of great concern, because that's where there's also a lot of money being spent in terms of supply chain. So it's going to trickle through the whole Eskom system, the whole Eskom pyramid, in terms of stress testing it to find opportunities in terms of lucrative engagements because of the amount of money that passes through Eskom's books.
There's also very important questions about the future of energy policy. Gwede Mantashe, the Minister of Energy, I mean, he gets a lot of flack, a lot of criticism. He's accused of defending the coal lobby, of not moving quickly enough towards renewables. Is that criticism justified, or are people just, you know, trying to make a buck themselves out of renewables?
Again, the criticisms of Minister Mantashe hold some weight, but the people levelling those criticisms have a conflict of interest, and that might dilute the power of their criticism in terms of being invested in the renewable energy industries. So they might be pursuing their own self-interest under this banner. But there's no doubt that more could be done in terms of bringing renewable energy on board, in terms of relieving the stress and pressure on the ailing fleet. And some of the technologies can be is put into place very quickly and come onto the grid very quickly, and that would help enormously. But big debates in terms of the climate change issues, that complicates this enormously. There's no reason to believe that the coal industry is going to get hurt by going for renewables. There's a place for everyone in terms of a gradual phase out. And I think that this gradual phase out is what is alarming some and making them more conservative than they need to be.
Professor Ivor Sarakinsky at the Wits School of Governance, really do appreciate the time. Thanks very much indeed.